My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Solvent Season 2. And this will be a spoiler-filled review, so if you haven't seen it, go and watch it, then come back and watch my review, because I will be going in depth. But I really enjoyed the first season. It wasn't perfect, but there was enough greatness there. So I was kind of curious to see what kind of direction they would take Season 2 in. But the truth is, from the very beginning, I didn't have as much investment in what was going on. And the reason is because at the end of the first season, the cult ends up taking baby Jericho, and Leanne leaves the tunnels to go someplace else that we don't know. And I had zero investment in those two things, and here's why. Leanne, yes, there were moments that we felt bad for her in the first season, but there was some shady stuff going on. There was definitely a supernatural or magical aspect to her that kind of had you on edge. She did curse Sean in some way, where he was picking out splinters out of his body and where he couldn't taste or feel anything. So there was some horror aspects that she was bringing to this family. So the way I saw it is that they were probably better off without her. And then in the other case regarding baby Jericho, as far as we're concerned, baby Jericho is dead, and that baby that they had wasn't baby Jericho. So why should I be rooting for them to get a baby that isn't theirs back? So I had zero investment in what was going on in this season from the very beginning. And it did take me a while to start getting into it. And I'll tell you when that happened. It was in episode 4, which I believe is called 2 o'clock. And this episode is the best episode of this entire show. Dorothy kidnaps Leanne and starts tormenting her, doing terrible, horrific things to her. And Sean realizes that Dorothy has gone too far. But he doesn't know what to do, and Leanne's like, you gotta tell her the truth. She has to know what she did to Jericho. And even Julian's on the side of Dorothy. So this episode, I thought it was brilliant, because at this point, I'm rooting for Sean and Leanne. Two characters who I didn't think would pair up in any way. But my perception of them had changed to the point where I viewed Leanne and Sean as the good guys and Dorothy and Julian as the bad people. And I think it could have been an interesting exploration of how grief can destroy people, how it can force them to do terrible things and can turn good people into villains. And I was just interested to see where this story would evolve to. She eventually buries Leanne in the basement with only a pipe going up for air. And when Sean rescues her and holds her in her arms, I really got a father-daughter kind of relationship from her. Like, it was a very emotional scene where you're just left shocked at what Dorothy has become. And you're just like, what's going to happen when she finds out what she really did? So from that point forward, I was just like, okay, I can't wait to see what happens in this season. And eventually that entire episode that just gets thrown out. They don't do anything with it after that. It just was an excuse to bring Leanne back into the house so then it can be the 4 main characters again. My amount of disappointment after that episode could not be stated enough. Like, it is such a huge disappointment for them to tease great horror elements, a great story, and for them to just throw that away for the same old stuff that we've already seen, because everything past episode 4 is just really bad. It's stuff that I didn't have any sort of investment in. Leanne being held hostage by this crazy lady, that's interesting. But just what we got was just more of the same. Instead, it's trying to act like, oh, what's going on? Is she going to get baby Jericho back? Is she not? What's going to happen? I had zero investment in that stuff. I felt by this point, the show could evolve and turn into something else. But it just went back to what it was in season 1. So this season didn't feel like a progression, it felt like a degression. Could you imagine if for this entire season, if Dorothy and Julian were the villains and they eventually started tormenting Sean and they threw him in that room up their whistle? Like, that would have been some really great horrific stuff that would have given me, like, you know, reminders of misery and whatever happened to baby Jane. Do something like that. Because it's also great because it just shows you how our perception of the characters have changed. And instead, they just throw all that away. I cannot explain enough just how frustrated that left me. Because everything afterwards with Uncle George and Aunt May and whatever that new person's named, I do not care. I don't care about that stuff. The more the show starts to explain what's going on, the less investment I have in it. I love it when shows go insane and so over the top, but this guardian angel aspect of this show, I just find to be incredibly lame. I'm not like, oh, this is so cool. It just doesn't work because the show feels grounded. It feels grounded in reality. The way the show looks, it looks like this could have been any family. And then this magical aspect enters into their life. And now it's like building itself up to be this world filled with guardian angels and just whatever's going on. I just don't care. I think it's so messy and uninteresting. And the way that they take some of these characters, what did they do with Leanne? In episode 4, I sympathized with her. I was just like, okay, where are they going to take this character? And where do they end up taking this character? She falls in love and starts having sex with Julian? Where the hell did that come from? Not just that, she has a chance to leave the house and she decides to stay with Dorothy. Why? She literally tormented her. She buried her. And I'm supposed to be like, she wants to stay with the family. Isn't that sweet? No! Dorothy is a villain. Treat her accordingly. There's even one moment where Sean's gonna get Leanne out of the house, and then on the way out, they stop and look at the TV, and they see, something happened. And then Dorothy and Julian come into the room, and then Leanne just goes back upstairs. Why? If I was just tormented and buried by someone, I'd get the hell out of there. She had an opportunity there. And if Sean took her to someplace safe, and then he came back, and Dorothy was like, where did you take her? And then she starts doing the same stuff to him, and like he just like can't sleep, he can't be calm at all in his own place because he feels like Dorothy might just kill him. Oh my god, that would have been so fascinating. But nope, she's just like, okay, I guess I'll go back upstairs. What an absolute shit decision. And then Uncle George comes back, and just the role he plays in this season, he's just there for exposition, and I just feel like I didn't mind him in season 1 because you just get a hint of him. But you just get way too much of him now to the point where it's just like, okay, I've had enough of this character. He apparently dies. I don't buy it. I'm sure him and Aunt May and everyone else will come back in season 3. Be at the end of an episode and I'm supposed to be like, Uncle George is still alive, and it's supposed to be the shocking moment. But at this point, I just have zero investment in this character. He's already overstaying his welcome. And then we've also got Wasco, who was taken captive by this cult, by these guardian angels. And maybe I'm misremembering this, or maybe I misheard him, but didn't he say that he saw all these kids without eyes or something like that? Because it hypnotized him and he starts talking about what he saw. And I'm just like, okay, that's interesting. And then he just does nothing for the rest of the season until he comes back at the end. He's just like, yes, so your husband hired me to be a private investigator. And then she gets mad that Sean did. That's so dumb. Like, you set up that character to go into some interesting places here, and they just don't deliver on that. And then the character Natalie, she's dating Julian at the end of the first season, and then I don't even think we see her once in this season, and it's just not made out to be a big deal. I don't know, I kind of wish that character came back. I wish she had some role to play in this season, because I just feel like maybe the actress got busy and just couldn't make this show. Because that's the only reasonable explanation I can think behind her absence. And then at the very end of this season, what happens? Jericho comes back. Now, is it actually Jericho? We don't freaking know still. Now, at the end of season 1, episode 1, was that Jericho who came back? Like, we're still not certain. It could have been another baby. Like, we still don't have a definitive answer to that. And then at the end of this season, Jericho's back again, so Leanne decided to stay with them, and this couple got their baby back. So now we're way back to the beginning of this show. It took us 2 whole seasons to get us right back to the beginning of this show. And the fact that Sean still hasn't told Dorothy what she did, now I just don't care. Like, I like Sean. I think he's an interesting, relatable character in the show. He's like the one sane person in all of this. But just the fact that he still isn't telling Dorsey what she did, it's just like, okay, I can understand you putting it off for a little bit, but now you've just crossed that line. Well, now I don't like you anymore. For better yet, can you imagine at the end of episode 5 if he tells her what happened and she just snaps and she turns into like this full-on psychopath? That would have been an interesting direction to take this show. Could you imagine if even at the end of this season, well, he's finally about to tell her and she's just like, shh, shut up. I don't want to hear it. And then he tells her and then she just snaps and that's how the season ends? At least it would leave me wanting more. But the way that the show exists now, I just don't care what happens from this point forward. I really enjoyed the first season, but at this point, I'm not sure if I'm even going to watch season 3. I might give it another chance, but where I am now with this show, I'm not excited for it. I just think it's gotten way too big for its own good, and like I said, I do not care about this guardian angel stuff. I want at least some answers by this point. And I at least want the show to go in some interesting directions, but the way it exists now, it's not taking any interesting or new directions. It's just falling back on what we've already seen in this show countless times. It's taking the characters in so many questionable decisions. Why would Leanne want to stay with Dorsey at this point? Like, it would at least make a hint of sense if they had a moment where they talked and like they really started to talk about their emotions and how they feel. But we don't even get that. And then Leanne having sex with Julian just came out of nowhere. My goodness. I'm not even kidding. Episode 4, 2 o'clock, was a phenomenal episode. I was so hooked after I watched that episode. And for them just to go nowhere interesting after that great episode that gave them so much potential, I can't believe they blew it as badly as they did. I said earlier this year that Ted Lasso Season 2 might be the biggest drop in quality from a Season 1 to a Season 2, and that still is the case, but this might be the second biggest drop in quality. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and give Servant Season 2 a 3 out of 10. Okay, have you seen Servant Season 2? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon, and Gavin out.